This is going to be a tutorial on how to add your own songs into Naruto Storm connections. Using this tutorial, you'll be able to add up to 27 of your own songs into the game to be used during free battles and online battles, along with custom looping points. A few things I want to point out. First, you need to own the Nostalgic Music DLC in order to actually access the menu for using this mod. You can use a DLC unlocker, however, don't ask me for that because I am not going to give you a DLC unlocker. Second, this only works for the Steam version of connections, so don't ask me how to do it for a pirated copy, don't ask me how to do it for the Nintendo Switch, or the PlayStation or Xbox, or for a Yuzu emulator on a BlueStacks. I don't know how to do it, so you're on your own. Third, any new information or minor updates to the tutorial will be listed in a pinned comment on this video. Any major updates, I will probably make a new video to cover, but I will also be answering any questions in the comments, as well as including any frequently asked comments in the pinned comment as well. Finally, all of the programs that I will be recommending to you are completely free and will be listed in the description. You are welcome to use your own alternatives if you're more familiar with them, but obviously I cannot help you with those, so only use them if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, just use the programs I recommend. Okay, so for the first part of this tutorial, you'll need to have picked your songs. I've got two songs right here. I've got Kokuten from the Naruto soundtrack, and I've got Crisis Point Ascension from the Black Bullet soundtrack. There are three things we're going to need to do in order to prepare our songs to be put into the game. The first is to find actual looping points. The second is to convert them into WAV format, and the third is to create a preview version of these songs. Now, I've already done this. However, I'm going to still walk you through the process as if I was doing this for the first time. So for this step, you're going to need an audio editor. I'm going to be using Audacity, and you're going to need some sort of text editor so that you can actually write down your timings like I have right here. So to begin, we're going to open up Audacity. And just very quickly, for those of you who's never used Audacity before, I'm going to quickly show you around the interface. First, we're going to click File, Open, and we're going to insert our song. So I'm going to do Crisis Point Ascension for this example. What you have right here in the middle, this large blue thing, this is called the waveform for our song. It is a visual representation of when our song is loud and when it's quiet, and when this is going to be useful for us to identify certain parts of our song. I'm going to suggest you come over here to the left and drag this volume slider all the way down to about -20. This is because this will play at full volume if it decides to play, and that is very loud. So by dragging this down, we are going to save our eardrums should we accidentally play the song. Now, if we go ahead and click anywhere on our song, you're going to see this black line. This is our selector, and it's basically where our program is focused. If we come up here, you'll see two magnifying glasses. The one with the plus zooms in where your selector is, and this can be useful for more finely adjusting your selection for, you can see the waveforms a lot more close up and make your decisions based on that. And then the one next to it is just going to zoom us back out. If we click and drag, we're going to select a portion of our song, and you will see it's highlighted in white. The main use we're going to have for this is if you have like a silent part at the beginning or end of the song that you wanted to get rid of, you can just click and highlight and then press delete, and I'll get rid of it. However, we don't want to edit this song, so I'm going to undo that. Down here, you'll see a little selection window, and if you click this little cog icon, make sure it's set to start and end of selection. Whenever we do make a selection, it'll tell us exactly what time our selection starts and when it ends. This is going to be useful for writing down our loop points later. Since we can't actually save loops into the song itself, we have to write them down, and we're going to add them into the game later on. Finally, you'll see up above the song, there's this little time bar. If we zoom in more, it gets more detailed, but essentially this is just going to tell us, like, say this is 1 minute into our song. If we click and drag up here, you'll create a little looping region, and what this will do is it'll let you preview the loop in your song. So if we set it to say 1 minute 15 and 1 minute like this, when we play our song, it will loop between these 2 points, so we can preview what that would sound like. Now, the first step in finding the loop is, of course, listening to the song so that you know what it sounds like and where you would like the song to loop. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a moment. If you want to look this song up on YouTube and listen to it first so you know what it sounds like in full, go ahead and pause this video, go do that, and then come back here. Okay, so once you know what the song sounds like, I already know that the song essentially doubles on itself right here. You can see in the waveform, you see how it goes, it's like a mid-level volume here, and then it spikes up. I'm going to go ahead and play it from here, and you'll hear. So that's what that part sounds like right here. Now let's listen to this part right here. As you can tell, very, very similar, almost identical. So, we're going to use that point to loop our song so that it'll seem like it goes on forever and ever and ever. So to begin, we're going to click over here, and we're going to start our loop region right here. Make sure that the start is right on where this little, where the waveform kicks in right here, because that's going to be our visual indicator. We're going to do the same right there. I think that's mostly accurate. And the best way to find out is to just check. So we're going to go near the end of our loop, about right here, and we're just going to click play and let it loop. Now that's very good. Most people would be satisfied with that. However, I'm a bit of a stickler for perfection, so I'm going to quickly just adjust it slightly. As you can see, it was like 1 beat away from being perfect or something. So I'm going to go ahead and just slightly adjust this. I'm also going to do the same at the very beginning. Again, you take as much or as little time as you want to make it as accurate or whatever satisfies you. I want to make it almost as close as possible. So let's go ahead and listen to this real quick. Now that sounds pretty good to me, so I'm satisfied with that. Now, we're going to need to write down these loop times, but how are we going to do that? Well, that's what we have this selection window down here for. So if we hover over the beginning of this song, we'll see this yellow line. If we click there, and then hover over the end, and hold Shift and click again, we've now selected the entire loop region. And down here, because we have our selection set to start and end of selection, it'll tell us the exact time that our loop starts and ends. And then we can go ahead and write that down. I have this written down right here already, so I don't need this. But as you can see, it was very, very close to what I had written down the first time. Now that we got that written down, what do we do now? Now, like I said, unfortunately, we can't save this loop to the song itself. So we don't need the loop here. But we need to export this in a format that the game will read, which is WAV. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. Now, before you do that, don't forget to bring your slider back up to 0, otherwise the song will be very quiet in-game. You can either click and drag to adjust this slider, or you can just double-click it and choose and type in 0 here to put it exactly at 0. So now we've done that, we're going to click File, Export, Export as WAV, and then you're going to save it to your desktop as just the name of the song. Crisis Point Ascension is the name of the song. I would recommend not putting special characters like brackets or colon or exclamation mark in there. Just keep it to just alphanumeric Crisis Point Ascension. Obviously you put the name of your song and then click save. I've already got it here, so there's no point in me doing it. Now, in addition to that, we're going to need a preview version of our song. And the reason for that is when you hover over the song in the main menu, it plays a little preview of the song. And when we're adding songs to the game, if we don't have a preview version of the song, it would mean that we're adding the same song twice, which basically doubles the file size of what we're adding to the mod. So in order to prevent that, we're going to make a much shorter version of this song by just deleting everything after the first 15 seconds. 15 seconds is more than enough for a preview. We don't need any looping points, the previews loop automatically. So we're going to go ahead and click File, Export, Export as WAV again. I'm going to have the same song name, but we're just going to add preview to the end, just like this. Here, Crisis Point Ascension Preview. As you can see, this is only 2.5 megabytes, whereas the full song is 29.7. So it's a considerable size saver right there. So once you've gone ahead and saved that, you do this for every song you want to add to your mod. This is what I did for every single song in this list here. I did all of the loop points myself. I even edited some of these songs so that they would loop more properly. For example, Gekiha didn't have a proper loop in it, so I did some audio editing of my own to get it to loop a little bit more cleanly. I think I did the same for Sasuke Destiny, I can't remember. A few of these songs I did some editing on. So yeah, once you've finished with all of your songs, I've got mine right here. You should now have a .wav version of your songs, like this. And you should also have a preview version, also in .wav, like this. Once you've done this and you've got all of your songs ready, you're now ready for the next part of the tutorial, which is to actually get into the game files and start editing some files. So for step 2 of making our mod, we're going to need to get some files from the game. The game files are packed into what are called CPK files. We're going to open those up using a program called CriPakGui, and we're going to grab some files that we need for our mod. So we're going to go ahead and launch CriPakGui.exe. You should get this little window here. Go ahead and minimize that, we don't need it. So I'm going to click File, Open CPK, and you're going to browse to your game's install directory. I have mine pinned to the to my Explorer window here, but if you don't know how to find your install folder, if you go onto Steam and you right-click the game, you can click Manage, Browse Local Files, and copy the address up here. Oops. Yep, just copy that. And then paste it in up here, and hit Enter. And then once you've done that, you're going to go into Data, Launch, and you're going to pick adx2.cpk and click Open. Now there is a small chance that if you had to copy the address from Steam, that it might give you a file not found error. You simply have to just copy and paste the address again and try again. Now, this right here is a list of every file that's in that CPK file we just selected. We only actually want 2 of these files. This one right here, the bgm.awb, and the bgm_dlc.awb. And we can extract just these files by right-clicking and decompress item, and it will allow us to save it directly to our desktop. But for the sake of file structure, because when you're making mods, you want things to be in the right structure, we're going to go ahead and extract this entire thing, because then it will keep the folder structure intact. So we're going to go ahead and just click Extract Files here, and we're going to go to the desktop and click Select Folder. This will create a folder on the desktop with our files in it. Extraction complete, and as you can see right here, we have our unpacked CPK. If you open this up, it will have the folder structure all saved with the files in the correct places, which is exactly what we want. So now we need to do this again, but with a different CPK. So we're going to click Open CPK again. We're going to go back to our game's install folder. Again, I'm going to show you again, if you don't know how to find your game files, go to Steam, right-click the game, hover over Manage, and click Browse Local Files. This is your game's install folder. You can copy the address up here, and paste it in up here, and hit Enter. And that will take you to your game's install folder. Then you're going to go into Data, Launch, and this time we're going to pick sound.cpk, and click Open. Now, as you can see, I got the file not found error right here, so I'm going to show you how to sort that. Just click OK. And up here, if you click here, copy this, and then paste it in again, hit Enter, select sound.cpk again, and click Open. And there we go. So now you'll know what to do if that error comes up. Now, as you can see, there are quite a few more files in here, but again, we're just going to extract files because we want to keep the format the same. But if you just want to extract these 2 files, they're right here. So there they are. But we're going to extract all files again. We're going to save it to our desktop again. Just like that, we now have sound.cpk unpacked on our desktop as well. Once you've got these 2, you can close the CPKGui. We don't need it for now. And you'll have these 2 folders. Inside both of these folders are data folders. We want to merge these 2 together, so we're going to put them both on our desktop. So I'm going to just go ahead and move that to the desktop, and then move this to the desktop. And now some of these folders have some files in common. However, we don't care about these files, so we're going to go ahead and just replace them anyway. Okay, once we've done that, these 2 folders are now empty, so we can delete them. And we should just have one data folder. In here we'll have data, sound, and then we'll have a bunch of files. This was the file that was duplicate, but again, we don't need it. We're going to go ahead and highlight all of this and click delete. We just want the BGM folder. And in here, we have the bgm.awb and bgm.xfbin, as well as the bgm_dlc.awb and xfbin. These are the only 4 files you're going to need from the game for the next step of this tutorial. Okay, so now that we've extracted some files from the game, we're actually going to need to edit them to add our songs into the actual game files themselves. If you've never done any hex editing before, this part might be a bit intimidating, but I'm going to simplify it as much as possible so that you can get through this. What we're going to need for this step is, first we're going to need the songs that we prepared earlier in our format and with the previews. We're going to need our timings that we took note of earlier through Audacity. We're going to need the files that we extracted earlier from the game files, these BGM and BGM DLC files. And we're going to need 2 programs. First, we're going to need a program called Ace. This was a Xenoverse modding tool, I believe, but it works with connections just fine, so that's what we're going to be using. And we're also going to need a hex editor. I use HxD. If you're unfamiliar with hex editing, I would recommend using this so you can follow along with what I'm doing. Now, before we actually get into what we're doing, I want to quickly explain what these files are that we extracted. So you'll notice that there's 2 BGM files. One is a AWB, and it is very large. And one is an XFBin, and is very small. The AWB is kind of like a bank that contains all of the actual songs themselves. That's pretty much all this file does, is it contains all of the song, like the actual songs themselves. This XFBin is actually a ACB file, which goes paired with an AWB. And an ACB file is kind of like a catalog. And the game reads this catalog to look up information about a song, like what ID number it is, and like how long it is, or any other kind of variables that are attached to it. And we're going to use this to not only list our songs in the AWB, but to also tell the game what looping points we want on our song and what ID our song has. But in order to edit this, we need to first change it back to an ACB file. And we can't just change the file type because it also has extra data inside. So we're going to remove that data and then convert it into an ACB file. And we're going to do that through hex editing. Open up your hex editor, and if you've never used HxD before, this is what it looks like when there's no files loaded into it. And we're going to go ahead and click and drag our file, our bgm.xfbin, not the AWB, the xfbin, into here. And this is what you'll see, and I'm going to briefly explain what you're looking at. On the left here is the actual raw data in hex format, and on the right is that data converted into text, readable text. This side is like the more accurate. It'll tell you the exact value. You can see here 0, 0, and 0, 2, whereas over here on the right hand side, these just look like 2 dots. You can't tell the difference. On the right hand side, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but on the left you can see these 2 are actually 2 different values. So what are we doing in here? Well, there's a bit of information at the start of this file that we need to get rid of. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for, on the right hand side, you're going to look for @UTF right here at the very beginning of the file. It's only a couple lines down. You'll see the string @UTF. That's what we need this right hand side decoded text view for, because on the left hand side it just looks like this: 40, 55, 54, 46, which is a lot harder to find than just @UTF. This is where the ACB file actually starts. Everything before this is extra data that was added in by CyberConnect to turn into an XFBin file. So all we're going to do is we're going to click right before the @UTF, and then we're going to highlight everything. So we're going to highlight everything before @UTF, and we're just going to delete it. Now, if you're using HxD for the first time, a window will pop up saying that doing that will modify the file size. Are you sure you want to? You just click yes, because in this case we do want to change the file size. And now, if we've done this correctly, your file should look like this, with @UTF right at the very beginning, and then all this other data afterward. Once you've done that, we want to save this file, but not save, because we still want to keep this XFBin file for later. We want to save as. Make sure you save it in the same directory as the original file. And we're just going to change the extension now from XFBin to ACB. So now it's bgm.acb. We're going to click save. As you can see, it's made the new file right there. And we can go ahead and close this file in HxD without closing HxD itself by clicking the small X here underneath the larger one. Clicking this one here will just close off the file itself. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to do the exact same thing for this bgm_DLC file. As you can see, it's also got an AWB and an XFBin. We need to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker, but I'm still going to commentate on what I'm saying and what I'm doing. So we're going to go ahead, click and drag this in. We look for the @UTF right here. We're going to go ahead and highlight everything before it. As you can see, this file actually has an @ sign before the @UTF as well. We still want to delete that, because we don't want it to be @UTF. We want it to just be @UTF. And then we delete. So our file starts with @UTF and then whatever else. And we're going to go File, Save As, and then just change the extension to .acb instead of .xfbin, and click save. Once we're done with that, we can actually close off HxD for good, because we're now done. So now we got these ACB files. What do we do with them? Well, that's where ACE comes in. ACE allows us to open up and actually browse these ACB files. So we're going to go ahead and launch ace.exe. Here's ACE. It all looks slightly different for you because I changed the accent to orange just because it looked nice. And we're going to go ahead and click File and Load Force. And the reason we do this is because these files would come up with an error, but it's totally fine to load them through Force. So we're going to go ahead and browse to our files here. That was just on my desktop, data, sound, BGM, that's where our files are saved here. And we're just going to start with bgm.acb. We're going to click Open. Give this a moment. And now it has opened up the ACB with the AWB with it. And what this has done is allowed us to look at and listen to any song in the game. Now, I will warn you, this program can play music, but it will play it at full volume just like Audacity. However, unlike Audacity, I don't think you can turn the volume down. I think there is a volume slider in here, but from my memory it doesn't work. So just be warned, don't listen to music through this. If you are looking to extract any of these, you could right click. Oops. Yeah, I believe you can right click and extract or replace these songs, but we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be leaving these alone. You can also see down here is the songs that were added as DLC. The Haruka Kanata, Silhouette, Kaze, Bluebird, and Go. However, they're not actually in this file. They were added in the DLC file. But we still want to add our song through this file. We're just going to also list it in the DLC file to allow us to select it. So, what do we actually need to do here? Well, if you come up here, you can click New Queue. And this will add a new entry in the list for us at 217, because as you can see, it starts all the way up at 0 and goes all the way to 216 right now. We're going to add Q217. And you can name this whatever you like, but I like to name it BGM underscore and then the name of the song. So in my case, Kokuten for my first song. And then we're going to click Add a Track. I'm going to click Browse, go to our desktop, and find our song, which was kokuten.wav. You go ahead and click Open. And then you tick Loop, and then you click Add. And what this will do is it'll make a new queue with our song listed. What we want to do is we want to right click the song and click Edit Loop. Now, in my experience, this menu here will not accurately play back your loops. So don't preview your loops in here, because you'll be adjusting them here, and then when you get in game, they'll be completely thrown off. So just have faith in the timings you wrote down before, and it should work fine in game. So, because this is Kokuten, I've written down my Kokuten loop points. This was the loop start, so I'm going to go ahead and add this as the loop start. Just like that. And the loop end was like that. 1 minute 39 seconds. And just click apply without preview. Just like that, that song is now set up. At least for this part of the tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again for my other song, my Crisis Point Extinction. Ascension, sorry, which is, I wrote down the loop timings here. So I'm going to go ahead and click New Queue. This will make Q218. We're going to go ahead and do BGM underscore Crisis Point Ascension. I've spelled that wrong. Ascension. Click Add Track. Browse. We're going to go ahead and pick our song. Make sure not to click the preview, because we want the full song in this part. And click Loop. Click Add. And there's our song right here. We're going to go ahead, right click, Edit Loop. And we want to add our time. So 19.502. I'll write it in manually this time. So 19.502. And then over here, we want 2 minutes, 13 seconds, and 100 there. So then we click apply. And that's our songs done. Now, before you are done in this file, you need to take note of the cues for your songs. The first song you add will be Q217, the next one 218, etc., etc. Because this file starts at 0 and goes all the way to 216, and then our songs are added on top. So I'm just going to quickly... I'm not going to add it to this because I'm going to remember, but you're going to want to remember. As you can see, Kokuten was listed at 217. Basically, this file is from my mod pack. It didn't have Crisis Point in it. I'm doing that as a... I'm just doing that for this tutorial, which is why I've just written the timings down here. So, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and click File, Save. Now, we need to do this again for BGM underscore DLC. So we're going to go ahead and click Load Force. Find our data folder. Data, Sound, BGM. And then we're going to choose our BGM underscore DLC. And click Open. And as you can see, this just has the 5 DLC songs. And they still have the same queue ID as they did in the original file. Now, when we create a new queue, because Q0 is available, it starts off at Q0. So we need to make sure that we keep that in mind. So the name, I like to keep the names the exact same. So BGM underscore Kokuten. Add track again, browse, go to our desktop. This time we want to pick the preview song that we made. So that way we're not adding the full song twice. We have the full song once, then we have this much smaller preview added. Saves a lot of space. You don't have to tick loop here. It should loop just fine without it. So we just click add. As you can see, the queue ID is 0. We're going to go ahead and click, and then click again, and change it to 217, because it was 217 in the other file. It has to be 217 in this file. Don't hit enter, because that will try and play the song. You can just leave it like that, or you can just click a different thing in the list, and it will. You can see it's saved. Go ahead and click new QID, and we're going to do the same thing again for our other song. You do this as many times as you need for your songs. So I'm going to do BGM underscore crisis point Ascension. Spelled it right this time. Click add track, browse, choose the preview version, not the original version. Click open. Don't click loop on this one, and click add. Remember to change the QID to what it was in the other file, so 218. And now we are done. You can go ahead and click File and Save, and that will save this as it is. Okay, so once you've done that, you'll have all your songs listed just like this. Again, I've only got 2, but you have as many songs, up to 27, as I said at the beginning, in both this file and in the BGM file. So I'm gonna open that one back up real quick just to show you BGM. So at the bottom of this file, you'll have all of your songs. You just keep adding cues, name them whatever you want, add your loop points, etc. Then go into BGM underscore DLC, add them in again, make sure that the QID is the same, and make sure it's the preview version instead. Once you've done that, make sure they're all saved, and you can go ahead and close Ace. Once you close Ace, we can close this off as well. We're actually going to need to go back into HxD. The reason for that is we need to put these ACB files back into XFBin files. And there's a very specific way you need to go about doing it. So first things first, we're going to do the BGM file. So we're going to drag in bgm.xfbin, and we're also going to drag in bgm.acb, like so. Now, if we come back into bgm.xfbin, if we look back at where @utf is, these 2 bytes right here, if we look in the hex view right here, this value right here is what we call the min, or the minimum size of the file. And this up here, just it's like up and to the right, is the max. And the max is the maximum file size, and it's always just 4 bigger than this. That's how you find it. So once you open your file, look for @utf and select the 2 characters before it. Look on the left, you can see here it says 8D80. Those were the 2 characters before @utf. And if we look up here, you have 8D84, so that's our minimum, that's our maximum. And the reason we need to know this is because we've added more data to our ACB file. So the minimum and maximum size of the file is going to change. But also, there's data at the end of this file that we don't want to delete. So we can't just delete everything after @utf and replace it. We need to preserve the data at the end of the file. So the way we do that is we use the min to select only the data that is relevant to our ACB file. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, you're going to need to find this value. So find your @utf, highlight the 2 characters before it, take note of what these values are, or you can just copy them. And you're going to select right before your @utf, right there. So my little text selector is in between the @ and the character before it. And we're going to press Control and E. And this is going to allow us to select a block of data. We're going to pick a length, hex, and we're going to paste in what our value was, 8D80. As you can see, it was right there, 8D80. We're going to click OK. This is going to select a huge bunch of data, almost to the bottom. And as you can see right here, there's a little bit that we haven't selected, and this is the part we were trying to preserve. You'll know you've got it right when at the end of the file, you'll see this, 00000008. Right? On the right, it'll just look like 4 dots, but on the left, it's this. This is where the end of the file actually starts. Right here. This bit right here is where the file actually ends. And this is like the end of the file right here. So, let's go back up and do that again. Find @utf, right here. Click before it. Control E. Length, hex, and paste it in. And click OK. And as you can see, it's selected all the way up until 00000008. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into this file, and we're just going to select everything here. And we're going to copy, and we're going to paste it into this file. Just like that. Again, you'll probably be warned that you're changing the file size. That's entirely fine. So, like I said before, we've just changed the size of this file. And this file in particular has this is basically a checksum. It checks to make sure that this file is not tampered with. So we need to change the minimum and the maximum to match what we just added. And the simplest way to do that is to go back into this file, and with everything selected, you see down here it says length 9680. That's our minimum right there, 9680. So we just change this from HxD80 to 9680, and then change the maximum from HxD84 to 9684. Oops, I changed that to oops. I also deleted. Make sure you don't press delete or backspace in this, because you will change the file size. That is, you'll actually delete the data. You won't just erase. That's what that warning is for. You just press Ctrl Z to undo. So again, we want this to be 9684. So 9684. I'm going to go over that again because I want to make sure that you fully understand what we're doing here. So again, right before the @UTF, this is our minimum. We want to change it to the file size here, which is 9680. So 9680. And this, we want, up here, we want to change this to be just 4 larger than that. So that's 9684. There we go. So with that done, this file is now done. We can actually save this, and we can just close this. And that's that done. Now, I apologize if it seems like I'm going over it over and over, but if you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, it is very daunting and very confusing. So I just want to make sure that absolutely anyone can follow along with what I'm doing to make sure that you get it right your first try. So we're going to need to do this again for BGM_DLC. I'm going to try and go slightly faster, but again, I'm going to point out absolutely everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So, drag BGM_DLC.xfbin in, and do the same with the ACB file. I'm going to drag that in as well. In our xfbin file, look for @UTF, and select the 2 bits before it. So it might be easier to do it on the left-hand side. Once you selected it here, on the right-hand side, you can see where it's selected on the left. We want the 2 bits before it. Right here, 1B40. This is the minimum length of our file. And if we look just over here, just before it, is 1B44. It's 4 larger, so that we can safely conclude this is our maximum right here. So again, @UTF, 2 bytes before it. This is the minimum file size, and this is the maximum, because it's just 4 bigger than this. So we select right before the @UTF, press Ctrl E, length, hex, and we want 1B40 because that's our minimum. So we're going to put that in there and click OK. And it's going to select a huge portion of our file. And as you can see here, right just outside of our selection is 00000008. That's how you know you've got the right length right there. Is if this part right here is just outside of your selection. So let's go back up. @UTF. These 2 values here, 1B40. Go length, hex, paste that in, click OK. And there we go. So we got that selected. We're going to go in here, Control A, copy all of this, paste it in over here to overwrite all of this stuff. And now we need to change the minimum and the maximum. So, in this file here, we can see with everything selected, the length is 1C60. So that's going to become our new minimum right here. So we're going to change this to 1C60. And this is our maximum. We need to change this to be 4 larger. So this needs to be 1C64. the maximum always has to be 4 larger than the minimum. And the minimum is always listed right before @UTF. So with that out of the way, we can click Save, File, Save, and that's that done. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and close off HxD completely. And in the files, you might notice there's these .back files. These were just backups. You can go ahead and delete these. And we'll be left with our ACB, AWB, and XFBin again. Technically, we don't need our ACB files anymore, so we can go ahead and delete these. And just be left with this. With that done, we've successfully added our songs into the game files, but we need to now add in text strings for us to be able to select our songs and for their names to pop up in-game. Okay, so once we've done hex editing our ACB files and converting them back into XFBin, we now need to grab some more files from the game. Unfortunately, these files are located inside huge CPKs, and again, we only need 1 or 2. So to save you time, I'm going to leave a clean copy of each file in a download in the description, but I'm also going to show you how to get them from the game files just in case you need to know how to do them. We're going to be using CriPakGui, so go ahead and open that up and you'll get this familiar window. We're going to go ahead and click File, Open CPK, browse to our games install folder, go to Data, Launch, and this time we're going to pick data1.cpk. As you can see, it's 5.2 gigabytes. Click Open, and it has a lot of files in here, and some of them are quite large. This is why I don't want to make you have to extract all of these files or go looking through this for the files. But just in case you want to do it anyway, you want to scroll down through this list until you get to Data Dual, and you see Anime Song BGM Param.xfbin. You want to right click and decompress that. That's the only file you'll need from this, but extracting it this way will just give you the file without the folders, which is not ideal. And on top of that, you also need to go File, Open CPK, Data Region, Open, and you want these files here. All these files here are the different language files for the game. So there's English, there's Chinese, Korean, Polish, Russian, Spanish, etc., etc. So you can just get the ones that you want, or you can extract them all, but you need to remake the folders. The data, message, Win64, and then the specific language folder, and then you put the message info in there. But save yourself some time. In the description, you will find a download for all of these files already in format. So I'm going to show you right here. Data, as you can see, I already have message, Win64, all of the folders, and in each folder is the correct language file for each language. So you don't have to go through and extract them all and make all the folders. I've done that for you. The same with the dual folder right here has this in it as well. So you can basically skip this step by just going into the description and downloading the files pre-extracted. Okay, so once we've extracted our text files from the game itself, we now need to add in text for our song to be picked in the menu and for what comes up when the song plays in game. So for this, you're going to need the files that we extracted in the last step, or that you downloaded from the description, the dual and message folders, as you can see here. You're also going to need a tool called nuccbin. This is just going to convert the files into JSON files, which are much easier to edit than hex editing, so that's useful. And we're also going to need a text editor. You can use Notepad, but I strongly recommend Notepad++ for editing JSON files because of the superior formatting. Okay, so once you're ready, we're going to go in our data folder and we're going to go into Dual. And we have this file here, Anime Song BGM Param.xfbin. Now, this is the main file for all languages. So we don't need to do this for every other language. We only need to do it once. So we're going to start with this. We're going to click and drag this onto nuccbin. And this is going to turn it into a .json file. There will also be a meta.json file. You don't touch this. This is just to convert it back once we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up in Notepad++. So it's this is what it looks like. You don't need to know what most of this stuff is. I will briefly explain it. But for the most part, you're just going to be changing things to what I tell you to change. At the top, we have entry count. This is just how many songs are listed. You want to change this to add however many songs you're adding. So there's 5 to begin with. I'm adding 2 songs, so we're going to add 2 to get to 7. And then you'll see that there's 5 entries here. We're going to go ahead and copy one of these entries. We're just going to copy the last one. You might notice that all of these entries have a comma at the end of them. We need to make sure that that stays that way. So this last entry, because we're adding a new entry afterwards, we need to add a comma. The last entry in the list does not need a comma, but every other one does. So show that again. This is what the file looked like before. We're just going to come here, we're going to add a comma to the last entry, make a new line, and then paste in our new entry. Okay, so what's in here and what are we changing? First is the BGM QID. This was what the QID was listed in the ACB file. We wrote these down in our timings.txt. As you can see, Kokuten is 217, so we're going to change this to 217 because that is the QID for our song. Index, this is just the list, the song order in the list, so it starts at 0 and goes up by 1. So this one's 4, we want this one to be 5. Now, there are 2 values here that are the same. There's preview underscore start and unknown 3. We're just going to change both of these to 0. And this is just going to set it so that the preview starts at 0 seconds in the song. Unknown 4 is 5,000, we don't touch that. Preview length, we want this to be 15,000. This just means that the song will play for 15 seconds in the preview menu. Now, BGM name and BGM artist, these are basically what the game is going to be looking for in the language files to find the name of the song or the name of the artist. It's just what the name of the string is called. We don't put the name of the song here. We don't put like Kokuten here. This is not what we do, because then it's just going to look for Kokuten in the language file. So instead what we're going to do is make our own one. So what I like to do is I just take a BGM title underscore and then the name of the song. So Kokuten. Just like that. And then we do the same for the artist. I like to have the correct artist listed, so that's Yasuharu Takanashi. Again, we don't want to list the full artist here, because this is just telling the game what string to look for. We're not actually putting the string here. So we're going to put this as just BGM artist underscore Yasuharu. Now, if we were adding multiple songs by the same artist, we could use this same name here in multiple entries, but we're not going to do that because ours aren't. So we're going to add a new entry now for our song, for our second song. So we're going to add a comma to denote that this is not the last entry in the list. New line. I'm going to paste in a new entry. And now our second song was QID 218. The next index in the list, so our last song was 5, so this one's got to be 6. Because remember, it starts at 0, and there's 7 songs, so 0 to 6. Unknown 3, we want this to be 0. Unknown 4, we don't change it. Preview start, again, we want this to be 0. And preview length, we want this to be 15,000. BGM name, we're going to change this to BGM title underscore, and then it was crisis point Ascension. There we go. And the artist is Shiro Sagisu, so I'm just going to make the name BGM artist underscore Shiro. Just like that. So these are the 2 strings that we added, or the 2 entries we added right here. And as you can see, again, my last entry, no comma, but every other entry has a comma afterwards. Okay, so we're done with this file for now, but we don't want to close it. So we're just going to put this off to the side. And what we're going to do is, we're going to come in here, we're going to go to Message, and then we're going to go into Win64. And then we're going to pick our language. I'm English, so I'm going to go into the English folder. But if you were, say, Russian, you'd go into Rus for Russian, and you'd edit this file. If you were Spanish, you'd go into here, and this one, etc, etc. So I'm English, going to go into ENG, and then we got message info.bin.accepted. We're gonna, oops, I double clicked that, sorry. We're gonna drag this onto nuccbin to convert it into a JSON file. And we're gonna open this one up in Notepad as well. Now I want to open this up in its own instance. And because this is a very large text file, it's going to take a long time to load, so just give this like a couple seconds. Okay, it's done loading. So now I'm going to drag this over. If you didn't see what I did there, I'm going to quickly do that again. You right-click the file up here, and you click Move to New Instance, and that'll open the file up in its own window rather than having it attached to the same window as this one. So we wait again for this to load. Okay, and as you can see, this file is massive. This is all of the text in the game in the English language, which is why it's so large. It's why the file takes a couple seconds to load. So we're going to look for a specific string in here, because we don't want to be editing a bunch of these different values that we don't know what they do. So to make this as simple as possible, we're going to Control F, and we're going to search up blue bird, like this, blue space bird. We're going to make sure that match case is off, but wraparound is on. We're going to click Find Next, and it's going to find this entry right here. And we're going to go ahead and copy this entry from the first, from this comma, up to this curly bracket up here. We're going to, I accidentally pressed the wrong button, so we're going to copy that. Then we're going to go to the bottom of the file, and then we're going to find this. This is the last entry in the file. We're going to add a comma, because it's no longer the last entry in the file. Make a new line. Then we're going to paste in the entry we copied, and there's only two things we're going to edit here. First is the CRC32. And if you don't know what this is basically a hashed string. The way we do this is I'm going to open up a website. Okay, so I have my hash website right here. Now, how does this work? Basically, the game doesn't just look for... when the game looks in this file, it doesn't just take this name here and display it. Because then it would have to have one of these files for every language. So instead what they did is they made it look for this string in this file. But before it searches for this string, it converts it into CRC32. So for our entry, we need to convert our BGM name here into CRC32. So we're going to take BGM title underscore Kokuten, or whatever your song is named. We're going to go onto this website. In the drop-down list, we're going to select CRC32. I'm going to paste the song name in here, and just click hash. And this right here is BGM title underscore Kokuten when hashed in CRC32. So the game is going to look in this file over here on the left, see that it needs to load the BGM name BGM title underscore Kokuten. It's going to take that, hash it into CRC32, and get this string. It's going to then take this string and look in this file for the entry that is listed with that CRC32. So that's why we put it here. So that's where our CRC32 string goes there. The rest of this we do not touch. We just want text3. And we're going to change this to be the name of our song. So we're going to name this as Kokuten, because that's what we want to show up for our song name. And then we're going to do that again for the artist. BGM artist underscore Yasuharu. So we need to make a new entry right here. I don't know why that was flickering. That was weird. Okay, anyway. So, new entry. Just like that. We need to take the BGM artist right here. Copy it. Convert it into CRC32. Copy this result. Change that here to our new result. And then change our text to what we want. So we want Yasuharu Takahashi. Just like that. And now when the song looks for the BGM artist, it's going to find BGM artist underscore Yasuharu, which it converts into CRC32, gets this string. It's going to look in this file for that string. It's going to find this entry right here. It's going to read the name from this text field. This is perhaps the most complicated part of making the mod. So once we've done that, I'm now going to do the same thing for my second song, which is Crisis Point Ascension. So we're going to copy the BGM title we made into here, enter, we get our CRC32 result here. I'm going to create a new entry in the list, just like that. Copy this again, paste it in up here where it says CRC32, and now we want the name up here. You can actually use special characters in this, but I don't think you can use quotation marks because of course that's what is used to denote the start and end of the field. So we're just going to write Crisis Point bracket Ascension, just like that. And then we need to make another entry because we need to do the artist name, which is Shiro Sagisu. Again, if this song had the same artist here, it would just read the same name. So if I put BGM artist Yasuharu in here, when it reads this entry, it would still just read from this, because it would convert that into hash blah blah blah, gets this. You know the drill. So we're going to copy this, go into here, hash CRC32, copy this, put it in our new entry here. That's going to be the CRC32 for our new entry. And then what text we want? We want the name of the artist, which is Shiro Sagisu. Just like that. And because this is the last one we're adding, we don't want the comma at the end. Just like that. And then we're going to click save. If you want to double check that you've formatted this correctly, you can copy the entire thing and go to a JSON validator. So you just paste it in there and click validate. If it says JSON is valid, that means it's correct. If I accidentally added a comma to the kin, for example, and then pasted it in, and then validated, it would say invalid, and it would show you exactly where the error is. Oh, there we go, it shows it right there highlighted. You can see right there, it's got this. That just means you would have to delete the comma to fix it. Okay, so anyway, we're done with this now. Now, what if you wanted to make your mod work in multiple languages? Well, now you would just do the same thing in another language. Like, let's say Chinese. We open up the Chinese file. We open up nuccbin. We would nuck it. Gives us a JSON file. We would open this up. It would take a while to load because it's a very big file again. Okay, once we reach the bottom, now we can just go back to our English one and copy all of the text that we added into the new one. Just like that. But we're only doing English for this tutorial, so we're going to undo that. We're going to ignore that. Delete these because we don't need them. We're just going to stick to English for this tutorial. Or rather, we're just going to stick to one language for this tutorial. Save the changes to this. So this is all done now. So once you're done with these, you go ahead and close them off. And we're going to take this meta.json file for our message info and just drag it onto nuccbin. And what I'll do is it'll convert whatever is in this JSON file back into XFBin format. So this is now already done. So it saved us having to edit in hex, which is a huge time save. So once we're done with that, we can delete these two JSON files. We don't need them anymore. Then we go back all the way to dual, and we do the same thing here. We take this meta.json file, drag it into nuccbin. It's already done its thing, so we just delete these two files, and we're done. Now, because I am not editing in any other language, I'm going to just delete all of these other language files, because we don't need them. But again, if you're editing a mod for all languages, you need to add the text to all of those languages. But because this is a tutorial, we're just sticking to English. So now you are done with your text. Okay, we're almost done with our mod. We just need to pack it into a CPK file and load it into the game. So for this, we're just going to need the CPK Rebuilder. This is the only tool we're going to need for this last part. We're going to open this up and launch CPK File Builder.exe. You'll be greeted with a window that looks like this. All we're going to do is take our data folder, which I hope you know by now, has all of the files we've been working on, our sound, BGM, with all of our BGM files, the message with all of our language files. Again, this tutorial is only doing English, but you can have all of the languages in here. And the dual with the parameters in here. So we're going to drag this data folder into the root here on the left hand side, and then we're just going to click Build CPK, and then we're going to change the file path here by clicking these three dots. We're going to go to our desktop, and we're going to name this Stage 2. You don't need to know why we name it Stage 2. All you need to know is that in order for it to load into the game, we call it stage2.cpk, and we're going to save it. We're going to take Triforce compression, and we're going to click Clean Build. Give this a moment, and now it is done. Click OK and close. And down here, we now have our stage2.cpk. We're now going to go to our game's install directory, so we're going to go into Steam, right-click the game, Manage, Browse Local Files. And in this folder, you'll have two folders, data and data_DLC. First, we need to go into data_DLC, and in here is AnimeOP in all caps and misspelled. That's just how CC2 did it. And in here will be a sound.cpk file. You need to rename this file to anything else, really. I'm just going to rename it to backup sound. And then we're going to go back, and in data, we're going to look for sim, and in here you'll see data2.cpk. We're just going to put our mod right next to it, like that. And we're done. We can now launch the game and see if it worked, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so here we are at the title screen. As you can see in the bottom left, I'm on the latest patch as of the recording of this video. I'm going to go ahead and press A. And then we're going to enter the options menu by pressing start, going to options, and down here where it says change battle music, we're going to go ahead and go in here. And right here we should have our two songs. And hovering over them will play a short 15-second preview. You can go ahead and just select these two songs real quick. And we're going to hop into Free Battle and test out their loops. So just a reminder, custom songs don't work in practice mode. It's a bit disappointing, I know, but it is what it is. You have to go into versus battle. Okay, so we're now loading into a quick free battle with two players. And we have our custom Kokuten soundtrack playing. There we go, that was the loop point right there, and it sounded perfect to me. Now if you just quickly go ahead and retry it and hear the other song. And there's the loop again. It was slightly noticeable, but that's mainly because I knew where I was looking for it. And so that's it. Okay, so that's pretty much gonna do it for this tutorial. I'm sorry if my voice kind of sounded weird at parts. I'm gonna just quickly show you now. I've been recording this for well over 3 hours. Including takes I had to delete and start from scratch. The next tutorial I'll do will probably be showing how to install your mods through a API like JoJo API or the new modding API that is being made for Naruto connections. But until I am more familiar with those, I won't be able to put a tutorial out, of course. So if you get stuck at any part or just have questions about this, then feel free to leave a comment and I will respond to you within like a day or so. I do read all the comments. If you enjoyed this and you want to make my throat suffering worth it, then do leave a like. 1 like equals 1 cough drop for my poor throat, because I've been talking for several hours now in the early hours of the morning. I'm very tired. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope this helped.